acclaimed.
I remember you. I first read your book like in '97, and then later a girl figured it out and became famous. Absolutely,
Yeah.
and it's basically your book. Yeah, stay there. Fritz Springmeier, long segment coming up. We're gonna get his take on all things Illuminati. Stay with us. We're supposedly on the Bin Laden reading list, if you really believe that. I don't know what to make of this. I was told by Navy SEAL and then separately a Navy SEAL family right after this all happened that it was fake. I, of course, had broken 14 years ago with Dr. Pachinik, high-level operative, one of the founders of Delta Force, that he'd already been dead. He'd be rolled out on ice later. The whole raid was fake. It was a body double. The SEALs thought that. They blew up their helicopter a few months later. Then the families really went public. Some have come on the show after we, of course, had talked to them privately. Some of them will not come on the show. But, I mean, this is not safe. This is not fun. I have a responsibility to do this. I just hope everybody realizes this is not a game. We have such credibility on this subject. They have the Central Intelligence Agency trying to discredit us. You guys are crazy. You're funding al-Qaeda to take down Assad and murder Christians. You've gone too far. You're out of your minds. You're shipping drugs into the country. Stop it. You nuts. You're going to stop yourselves. The corruption's going to stop. It can't go on forever. Somebody's got to say no to you, and we're the ones. And I'm nobody, but you got to deal with God. And you're not God, even if your masters try to play like they're God. And there's a lot of good people in the government, in every agency that know what's happening, probably more awake than the public. That's one reason I'm still alive as well. Going back to Fritz Springmeier, you can also support him if you like, plus get amazing books. He's written a whole phalanx of them. And you can find some of those books that are now back in print at pentracks.com, pentracks.com, Fritz Springmeier. Okay, Fritz, I'm ranting here. I want to put bookends on this Bin Laden thing and to move into other areas. Anything else you'd like to add on that front? Before I throw you the curveball, I always do, so it's not much of a curveball. What are you really focused on? What do you think is interesting right now?
Well, one of the things that you've been hammering a lot on, which is important, is globalism. You know, you repeatedly bring up about the globalists, and Americans are still off in la la land thinking that United States has the sovereignty. You know, the International Organization of Securities Commission regulates our market, and there's a Basel Commission on Banking and the BIS, which Bank International Settlements. These the Federal Reserve is part of BIS. It regulates banking. You know, the International Criminal Court of Europe has jurisdiction over here in the United States. So the American people need to wake up that the sovereignty of the United States is gone.
Global government's not coming, it's here.
Exactly. And this is the fact. And so somebody asked me the other day, somebody close to me, they said, you know, is it possible for the United States to get out of the United Nations? They don't understand how so totally entwined everything about United States is. And when it comes to China, United States is deep in debt to China, and they named this operation this summer, they called it Jade Helm. Some people may have been watching the news and seen that the lunar module, this rover that went over the lunar surface was called Jade Rabbit. That gives you an indication of how Jade represents China, and I really think that I think it's a strong possibility that the reason why Jade Helm is called, the first word of it's Jade, is it's referring subtly to China. And for instance, one time there was this large museum exhibit from China that was allowed to be displayed here in Portland. And the emperors of China considered that jade would give them immortality. Jade gives power.
Sure, I mean, it's the national rock of China. It's what their dynasties were obsessed with. They believe it's magical.
Exactly. So when we have the title of this exercise, Jade Helm being control, so in some way...
It means like Jade Command Center, Jade Takeover.
Yeah. And so we need to be aware that United States has lost its sovereignty. We have countries like China that if our economy starts collapsing, they're going to be trying to figure out how can we get our money extract our debt out of America. If we look in the...
That's right. China is the biggest debt holder of the U.S.
Yes. So if we look at the past as any kind of indication of what's going to happen in the future, after World War I, the British and French just came into Germany, dismantled their factories, and shipped them off to France and Britain.
That was the Versailles Treaty. Tell folks about that.
Yeah. Due to Germany having surrendered, why the Allies made a very unfair treaty, the Versailles Treaty, where Germany was taxed to pay the entire cost of World War I. And of course, it put Germany into a tailspin where children and babies in Germany were starving to death. The German economy couldn't pull itself out of the problem, and that's what led to Hitler being democratically brought in. Is Hitler saved the German people from the tyranny of the Treaty of Versailles. And so these are the kind of things that are done to manipulate world events, and we likewise will see similar things in our lifetime. And so the United States is in a precarious position, just like Germany was.
That's a smart parallel, though. I mean, example of the globalism, how they took over Germany, or the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and broke it up in 3 pieces and took parts of Germany away, like Danzig and others, and did all that, creating the beefs, then winding up Hitler and turning him loose. What do you make about George Soros and others openly trying to get race riots going? And I'm seeing them openly activate communist cells that are pouring out like roaches out of the walls for this summer. Do you think something big's planned this summer?
George Soros is not just a common everyday person. As you know, he's very influential, and being a student of who studied the Illuminati, he's a member of the Illuminati too. So when you watch what he's doing, you can see the Illuminati's agenda, and you're very correct at bringing out what he's doing, because this is it shows that we've got the manipulation of events, riots and so forth that we've been seeing, so that the United States is slowly, or maybe not so slow, depending on your perspective, is descending into chaos. And the things that protect us from totally collapsing into anarchy are being, those pillars of support, so to speak, are being dismantled. And so, yeah, the American people are entering into a very precarious time. And how much longer people like you and I are going to be out here with the freedom to give an alternative message that's a good question.
That was my next question. I just love how you're right on target with my next question. We're seeing massive censorship. Hey, a Marine can't, have a Bible verse on their computer about no weapon formed against me will prosper. You can't have, I'm pro-life on your license plate. The court says it's hateful. We see the left going from be tolerant of what we want to now you'll do what we say. I don't even call them the left. I see the internet kill switch being openly announced that we told people about 10 years ago, accelerated by Obama. I see the borders being liquidated. I see all these calls for censorship, calls for us to be shut down, that I shouldn't have free speech on This Week on ABC. Let me tell you, it's creepy when every major TV news show says I'm a horrible person, but won't say what I said or misrepresents. And then I know they used to try to set me up, Fritz, and say, let's attack the State Department, let's blow this up. And I'd say, come on, you're a cop, you're a Fed, get a camera. And then, they would get mad and run off. They've kind of backed off. They had me physically attacked. I know they tried to frame me quite a few times. They've kind of not done that in a while because I never fell for any of it. I know from your story, I followed it in the newspapers. They just kept raiding you, claiming you were dealing drugs. You had no criminal record, no drugs, big Christian. Finally, they just grab you, have an informant with a long record of lying, say you robbed a bank with no evidence. I know they basically tortured you with what they fed you and stuff in prison for a decade. I really ask, did they warn you beforehand, back off, or we're going to do this? Because they used to call me up, phone would ring, there'd be no number on the caller ID, and they'd say, we're going to kill you or put you in jail if you don't shut up. I'd say, well, do whatever you have to. I can't, be part of these lies. But I've been left alone so far, except for dirty tricks and stuff. Is it because I got big enough they don't know what to do? Or because I like talking to you because you've been through the ringer. I mean, you're a true political prisoner, like out of the New Testament or something. Well, what do you think about my situation? Because obviously I think about it a lot. Because, I mean, I'm getting, let's not exaggerate, 10 times the demonization, 15 times that I ever got before. And when you got the host of ABC Nightly News, the host of CBS News, saying my name as if he's speaking the name of some Attila the Hun or something, with their back all straight like they're talking. I mean, they're like alerting their own minions that I'm so evil. That's really creeping me out because first they try to assassinate your name before they assassinate you.
Right. Well, they realize that we're, at least from their perspective, that we're all going to get our comeuppance. Going back to something what you said earlier, the general principle is evil always contains the seed of its own destruction. So these people are on a collision course with what they're doing, and they're looking at us as we're the ones that are going to get the comeuppance. We're going to be taken down. But the truth is they also are going to be taken down because their own deeds, like you were saying about these intelligence operatives, it's going to collapse on them. In fact, the revolution always eats its own children. So, yeah, as far as what I foresee happening to you, I think that for you and I, we're going to be left out here until there's a general, a roundup where we're just included with the general arrest of people.
That's right. We won't be targeted to elevate us into martyrs. We'll be scooped up in the major purge. Right.
We'll just disappear quietly some night.
So we're the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
Growing up, did you ever imagine you'd be in this bizarre position? I mean, for folks that don't know or other people that are jealous of you or I because we get a lot of attention, I don't think they get this is not fun at one level. For me, it's a duty. I've got to do it. I mean, I can't just lay down to being taken over. It's an instinct. What is it for you?
Well, it was a calling. I felt a calling from God. And the original calling I received was back in 1978. And after about a year of doing what I thought I was called to do, I actually tried to avoid it for about 10 years. So I was a little bit like Jonah, where I saw that I needed to warn people, but I backed off for 10 years and then realized, this is what I'm called to do, and I just need to buckle down and do it. And again, after
did it feel better once you just submitted to God's will and did it?
Yes, but after you've been in prison for 8 years, it's uncomfortable to come out of prison and having experienced all of that and jump right back and get back into things.
You did seem shell-shocked at first, but you're back, Fritz.
Yeah.
I'd say you're back about 80%. I mean, you have a powerful presence now, but you used to have a really powerful presence in person and on air and stuff, and you still do, but I could tell it really tore you up in prison.
Yeah, everybody's going to get, after being knocked around a little bit, it takes a little bit out of you. But I'm here, and I'm continuing to do what I feel I was called to do.
You know the look you have